Today in the workshop we'll continue working with DB1, a real robot that you can also build. We'll look at how the chassis is assembled, and we'll examine some materials that you can use to create your own robot chassis. I'll also show you the Actobotics channeling that I'm using to construct DB1. So let's get building. Welcome to the workshop. Hey, welcome to the workshop. I'm back with the DB1 robot, which some of you may notice has changed a slight bit since we last saw it. A few things I've added to the robot. As you can see, I've placed some shelves on it over here. I managed to cut my acrylic or plexiglass, and I think it did a pretty good job of it too, if I do say so myself. These are nice and sturdy. They'll definitely be capable of holding up a lot of electronics. Got another piece here. This one's going to go on the back, if you can see that, and that's going to hold the electronics for the navigation unit or base unit, which is the first bit that we're going to actually be constructing. Now, another thing I did is I had this plate over here that initially was on the top here and was going to have some plexiglass on top of it and would be holding the sensors. I've taken the plate away and I'm going to use it actually on the front of the robot, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, after seeing how strong that this 1/4-inch plexi is, I'm just going to put a piece of this on the top over here for the sensors. I don't need the metal plate. And secondly, I have another use for the metal plate at the front over here. This is basically what I would call part B of building the robot. After we finish everything, I would very much like to add an arm, or even dare I say arms, to the robot. So I'm going to use this plate over here in order to hold the components I'll need for an eventual robot arm. So just a couple of small design changes. And as it is, we are going to be discussing the chassis today because, of course, choosing and building a chassis for the robot is extremely important. It kind of dictates how your whole robot project is going to come out. Now, the chassis for your robot may be identical to mine. You may be wanting to build the same one as I do, and so I'm going to show you what I used. I used something called Actobotics channeling. I'll be discussing that in a few moments, and I'll show you how this chassis actually goes together. But it certainly isn't the only way that you can build a robot. There are a number of different materials you can use for a chassis, and what you choose to use really depends upon what you want your robot to do. Mine is an experimenter's robot that I'm going to be using to learn about things like machine intelligence. I want to test a number of sensors out, etc. And so that's going to be kind of dictated in the design of my robot chassis. But your robot may be different. You might have a robot that you want to work outdoors, perhaps in your yard or something like that, and you'd certainly build a different chassis than this one. I don't think this would do very well in the yard at all. You might also have a robot that has a dedicated purpose. An excellent example of that would be like a Roomba, whose design is kind of dictated right from the beginning because it also needs to be a vacuum cleaner. But what I want to do now is discuss the materials that you could use to build a robot chassis. We'll take a look at those, and then we'll come back, look at this Actobotics channeling I'm using, and discuss it. I'll show you how this all goes together as well. So let's look at a few materials you can use to build your robot chassis. Here are some of the materials we can use to construct our robot base. The first material, and the one I'm using, is aluminum, or aluminium if you prefer. The word can actually be pronounced and spelt two different ways. Aluminum has a very high strength to weight ratio. It can be cut, drilled, bent, and tapped or threaded. Aluminum is a reasonably good conductor of electricity. It can withstand very high heat. Another advantage of aluminum is that it does not corrode, making it ideal for outdoor applications. The next material is acrylic, also known as plexiglass. Acrylic has a very good strength-to-weight ratio. It can be cut and drilled, and by using heat it can also be bent. Acrylic is an electrical insulator. One thing to be careful of, though, is that it can burn at very high heat and it will release toxic fumes. Like aluminum, acrylic also does not corrode. One material on the list that might surprise you is wood. Wood is often used to create prototypes of robot bases which can then be constructed with another material. It has a very good strength-to-weight ratio depending on the type of wood you use. It can be cut and drilled. It is an electrical insulator as well. Wood, however, will burn at a high heat. Being an organic material, it can also warp due to moisture. And finally, 3D printing can be used to make a robot base and the components on the base. Depending on the type of material you use to print, it can have a very good strength-to-weight ratio. 3D printed parts are formed to shape, allowing you to make custom shapes that you wouldn't be able to make with other materials. Most 3D printed objects are very good electrical insulators. However, most of them cannot withstand very high heat. There is also a size limit dictated by the size of your 3D printer. This can mean you will need to print several components to build your robot base using 3D printing. So those are just a few of the materials that you could use to construct a robot chassis. There are many other materials as well. Now, some of them are a bit esoteric for a hobbyist robot. Things like titanium and carbon fiber are probably out of reach for most of us, myself included. But there are items you'll be able to find around your home, in department stores and in hardware stores. Things like PVC piping, for example, that would be very excellent for making a robot chassis. Now, I've made my chassis out of channeling, and the type of channeling I've used is called Actobotics channeling. But there's channeling available from other manufacturers as well, such as Lynx Motion and Vex. And there's no specific advantage to the Actobotics channeling. The reason I chose to use it was availability. The Actobotics channeling is distributed from Servo City, but it's also available at SparkFun, Robot Shop, and a number of international distributors as well. In fact, I have an electronics store down the street from me, and they stock some of this stuff as well. So the availability was important to me, not only for building it myself, but for allowing you to replicate what it is that I've built. Now, the advantage of using channeling, any channeling, is that it is very easy to reconfigure your robot. If you decide you don't like the design, you can change it. If you decide the wheels are not spaced correctly, you can change that as well. The Actobotics channeling, like other channeling lines, is not just channeling. It also comes with things like gears and pulleys and bearings and shafts and all sorts of other things. They have motor mounts for all sorts of standard motors. I'm using motor mounts for my gear motors, as well as a motor mount up over here for this stepper motor that I'm going to be using for my turntable over here. So the availability of all these parts makes it very easy to put a lot of this stuff together and create your own robot chassis. So what I'm going to show you right now is how I have designed my chassis, what pieces I've taken to put together to make this, and then we'll take a really close look at what I've built over here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the design right now. Now here's how I've laid out the Actobotics channeling to construct the base for DB1. Bear in mind that all of the Actobotics channeling is 1.5 inches wide, and all of the dimensions are in inches. I start with two 12-inch pieces of channeling. These are the two sides. I then place two 13.5-inch pieces of channeling to use as the two ends. The distance between the 12-inch pieces of channeling is 9 inches. Next, I take a 12-inch by 9-inch plate and insert it at the bottom. This will be the plate that holds the batteries for the robot. I then take a 12-inch by 4.5-inch plate and place it on the top at the front of the robot. Now the construction of the tower. The top of the tower is a 12-inch piece of channeling. This is supported by two 15-inch pieces of channeling. A 9-inch piece of channeling across will hold the motor for the turntable. This is located 3 inches below the 12-inch channel. A set of brackets are attached for the bottom shelf. The top height of the bracket is 3 inches. Another set of brackets is installed for the middle shelf. These are located at a height of 7 inches. Finally, the top assembly is attached to the bottom assembly in the very center, as illustrated here. Now that you've seen the chassis layout, I just wanted to give you a closer view of the chassis. You can see the main components that we looked at in the layout. This is the 12-inch piece of channeling along here with the wheels on it, and there's of course an equivalent one on that side. The 13.5-inch piece over here, a 15-inch piece here and one on the other side, the 9-inch across there, and the 12-inch along the top. Now all of these are held together with 632 fasteners, and the ones in the Actobotics components use 632 fasteners with hex heads. Now of course you can use regular 632 screws if you wish, but the hex head screws have a lot of advantage. One big advantage is that you can take your hex driver and put it through the holes over here. So if you had a screw over here that you needed to tighten, you can get at it a lot easier than you could with a conventional screwdriver, and that's really nice. Now the channeling itself is open on the end, so when you need to fasten two pieces together, you use a special mounting plate. I've got one down over here, and that's what's holding this onto the bottom chassis right now. I'm not sure if you can see that too well. There are also mounting plates for the motors. The motors over here have mounting brackets, and when we come to the stage where we're going to put the motors in, I will show you how to mount the motors themselves. You'll notice that all of these have basically the same pattern on them, and this pattern is the key to working with this channeling. You can mount devices at a 90-degree angle or even a 45-degree angle because of all the holes, and everything will line up correctly. You can see the brackets over here if you look carefully that are holding on these pieces of acrylic that I've cut. The acrylic I've left the paper on because I want to be able to make marks for the mounting screws, but I couldn't help peeling back a little bit just to see what it's going to look like, and I think that's going to look quite nice once I've got that off with the black acrylic. Also, they've got these large holes in the chassis over here, and I'm going to be using the pass wires, and as you can see over here, I've put some rubber grommets in wherever I'm going to pass the wires, and that's going to prevent the wires from fraying against the chassis. So this is a look at the chassis itself. The next time you see this, I'm actually going to take this top piece off so we can work on the bottom, which is where the navigation section components are going to go, and we'll work on the motors, the wheels, and then the actual electronics to get that going. So there you go, a peek at the DB1 chassis. Okay, so we've come to the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that it's inspired you to build a robot chassis of your own, whether it be the same design I'm using or one of your own unique design. Now, if you do want to build the same chassis as mine, you will find a complete list of all of the parts that I have used so far to build the chassis in the article accompanying this video on the DroneBotWorkshop.com website, and you'll find the link to that article right below the video. Now, I've also got some ideas for creating more detailed plans for this robot for those who might desire it. And I'm going to be bouncing those ideas off of members of my newsletter. So if you're not a subscriber to the newsletter, please subscribe to the newsletter. There's a link below the video for that as well. It's not a sales letter. It's my way of keeping in touch with you to let you know what's going on in the workshop, and to also solicit your opinion on the types of videos you'd like me to make, as well as, in this case, to get your opinion on how to best distribute the plans out to you for this robot. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that as well. That way you won't miss any of the videos on the DB1 robot or on any of the other subjects that I cover here in the DroneBot workshop. And we'll be having robot videos on Thursdays and regular DroneBot workshop videos on Saturdays. So there's a lot to look forward to. So until next time, please take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you again very soon here in the workshop. Goodbye for now.